Relate to this. With Jay Charles and Dr. Hal. Relate to this. With Jay Charles and Dr. Hal. Relate to this.
Hey, good evening to each and every one of you. Welcome to another episode of Relate to This. I'm Jay Tross, and I already talked to Dr. Howell about this. Sometimes we got to do a little housekeeping in what we do. We're live, and so sometimes when you're live, certain things that you do in practice kind of comes off or not come off in a presentation, and hopefully Dr. Howell is knowing what I'm talking about right now.
Definitely.
I'll fix it myself.
Hold on, man. You know I have technological problems, man.
Listen, that's okay. We got you. We got you squared away. That's
You
my
got it.
co-host, Dr. Siegfried Howell. We're excited once again to be with you. We're going to just ask if you're watching this either live or if you're watching it on the recap, share it, subscribe. We got to get this out here. This is good information that we're sharing. Good, solid information for every type of relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it is a marital relationship or girlfriend and boyfriend or co-workers, whatever type of relationship that you are in. This information transcends all of that. It will help you out in all the relationships. And if you're new to our program, Dr. Howell is a wise man. He did not pay me for that comment.
Maybe I should.
Right, you should definitely, because I'll go a little bit longer on that. You know what I mean? So, Dr. Howell is an author. He is a relationship coach. He is an all-around great person, business owner of MEI, Making Education Intentional, as one of our main sponsors for our program. And we're always glad that him and I can come together on every platform that we can think of to share the good news about your relationships. Now, not all relationships are good, Dr. Howell. Let's be honest, right? Not all relationships are pretty. Not all relationships are meant to be together. Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, it's a relationship, right?
Yeah.
Not all flowers grow together, right? Depends on you're a scientist, right? It all depends. I plant a garden every year, right? I tried to plant some corn. So I told one of my coworkers about this a couple years ago, and they said, "Oh no, my backup." My neighbor told me that they were also planting corn, and that one of their coworkers like, "Oh, that's good, because if your neighbor is planting corn and you're planting corn, it's going to help each other." Now, our gardens are, 10, 20, 30, 40 feet from each other, but the fact that you're growing certain things will help pollinate other things, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Needless to say, my corn didn't grow. And that's like some relationships, right? Sometimes it's not, the balance is not there. I missed something in the soil. Mm-hmm. That didn't allow for those to grow. Now, did my neighbors grow? I'm sure it did. But yeah, so we're here, and we're here just to conversate. This is a good conversation. A few weeks ago, we had one of our friends on, Alan, from Henry's House Media Production. We're going to bring him back again. Check out that episode. That was a great episode. If you're interested in knowing more about yourself, because that part of that episode was related to self, right? The self-healing, generational curses. I mean, we dealt with a little bit of everything in that episode. So check that out. Going over to our page, relate to this with Jay Charleston, Dr. Howe. Search for us on the web there, and you'll be able to definitely pick up some information.
Now,
Listen,
just
man.
to cut you off a little bit, when I searched on Google, it didn't show up, but when I searched in YouTube, it showed up. And so,
Absolutely.
just to
Absolutely.
let people know, if you're gonna search in YouTube, relate to this with
Absolutely.
Jay Truss and Dr. Howe. Now we need to change that to DJ Truss and Dr. Howe. I keep telling you that. That is a lot more catchy than
And you know how you said, not to cut you off, but I just searched YouTube. I mean, I just searched Google, and it came up at the top of the list. Just saying.
Okay, all right. Well, hey,
You know what I mean?
maybe my Apple computer is not as powerful as your. Wait, don't you have Apple computers too?
Multiple. But see, my Apple computers pollinate one another.
Okay, all right, okay.
So yeah.
Well, my Apple computers beat up your Apple computers. How about that?
Hey man, it's a fight everywhere. That's all I gotta
Yeah,
say.
there you go.
Fights. Speaking of fights, man. Never mind. That's good.
Never mind.
Yeah. I was gonna bring up something. It's probably better to bring that on to our, not to promote the
Awkward
other show,
situation.
but we do also have a show called Awkward Situation. Now that show you really want to come and check out.
Definitely. If you like to laugh, if you like to have a good time, nice, clean fun, awkward situations.
Listen, if you like some laughter, if you like some fun, if you just like to put down your hair, take off your wig, you know what I mean, and just sit in front of the TV with it turned off, which will be awkward. This is the show you want to check out, Awkward Situations with Ziggy and Jay Tross. We're on Amazon, Spotify, Google, a number of different places. Check us out on there. That was just a cheap advertising real quick for that. So yeah, I'll wait for that one. But yeah, listen, man. I want us to take a few minutes to really dive into relationships,
Mm-hmm.
all makes and models.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean your friendships, the relationship you have with your coworkers,
Mm-hmm.
the relationship you have with your spouse,
Mm-hmm.
your kids, your parents. Because there is a belief in some circles that all of these relationships are different. Meaning, and I'm not talking about if you're my wife or if you're my coworker or friend, I'm not talking about that type. That there's a belief that I should not treat everyone the same as humans. And I said that particularly that way, so not to be confused with treating everybody the same in the relationship. Okay.
Okay.
So that not I don't want to get it twisted there, but that my friendships, all of these things are basically boils down to being a good human, being kind, right? Is one thing that I found along the way, Dr. Howe, is that it amazes me how you can call somebody a friend and you treat them like your enemy, or someone you can call your spouse and you treat them like your enemy. You know what I mean? Or,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, and some of those things. And so that relationship thing being more balanced. So I want us to start. Now I kind of try to lay the foundation a little bit. And let me tell you what I just did. I tried to lay the foundation without laying the foundation to keep
Okay.
us in suspense of where we're kind of going, right?
Okay.
So,
Right.
Because I want to come from several different areas in this episode tonight. So this is not based on one particular area, but the well-rounded human, right?
Right. Okay.
So I wanted to take a look first, and we're going to deal with the friendship side of this, right? Sometimes we get into friendships. Growing up as kids, we always, or most of us, had a best friend. Don't know how that best friend came along, but they became what we called our best friend.
Yeah.
So wherever I was, that best friend was. When there was a fight, me and my best friend, we rode together, you know, or whatever the case may be. But can you tell us what are, and I want to pull out 5 if we can pull 5. If we can't get to 5, that's okay. If we got 3, that's fine too. But what are, we're going to call it the basic requirements, okay? What are the 5 requirements for strong friendship?
Okay.
What are the basic requirements for a strong friendship?
All right. Well, first of all, what I want to say is, you say that we should all treat our friends or all relationships at a minimum as humans. That's the first thing. The second, yes, I agree with it. The second thing I want to say is, in America, I have found that we have friends for different things. We have relationships for different things. So you have the friend that you go to the mall with. You got that ride or die friend. You got the friend you go to the parties with. You got the friends that you call when you're bored. You have the friends that you know have your back if stuff hits the fan. Yeah, and so I didn't grow up that way. I had one friend in high school, and he was a ride or die. Yeah, he was the one that if you saw me, you saw him. He was the one that if I had a girlfriend, I try to find him a girlfriend. You know, from the girlfriends. He was the one that always had my back, would never let anything happen to me regardless. You know, but in America, you find that people have different friends for different things. And then I have an ex-colleague that I can always call and say, hey, I have to leave the country for 5 days. Can you watch my dog for me? And I can say that I am closer with her and my other ex-co-workers than I am with some people that I've known longer or some family members. I can rely on them more often than not. And so if you're looking at friendship and if you're looking at what makes up a relationship, when you can talk freely with people, when you can rely on them, and when you can be yourself, when you can let some of your guards down, that's when you know you have a good relation, whether it's intimate or not. And so if you want to just look and talk about what are some things that can indicate a strong relationship, first of all, mutual respect. I respect you, you respect me. And when the respect is there, you can lax on the boundaries because you know certain people would not habitually line step or boundary step. So I've never had to say to certain people, hey, you crossing that line. Hey, watch out. Hey, I can't hang out with you anymore. But then there are other people that you have to warn them on a regular basis because they tend to push and test the boundaries a little more. Open communication is very important in building and maintaining a strong relationship. You have to be able to talk. You have to be able to say what you want to say in a respectful way, but knowing that that person would take it not out of malice, but out of caring, kindness, or whatever. Shared interest in activity.
Mm.
You can't have a strong friendship without certain things in common. The friend I was talking about before, we were science teachers together.
Mm.
And we worked together for about 7-8 years. And so we built a bond, and it was 4 of us in that group. And even though we left our jobs, we still hang out several times a year.
Mm.
And we look forward to it, and we text each other and say, hey, it's about that time again. We got to see each other again because we need that fix again.
Right.
We have husbands, we have wives, we have different obligations, but we all find a way to meet up because we have shared interest and activities and conversation. Another thing, emotional support. If you're having kid problems, you might be able to come and talk to your friends about it where you don't want to talk to family members because they're like, oh, some family members are in denial. And so you may not want to say, hey, I have an aunt who has a kid that's X, or I have a sister who has a kid that's Y. I have a brother who is jacking up his kid, or kids, or I have, regardless of what the problem is, you may not want to share that with a family member, but you can share it with them because they don't have a dog in the fight.
Right.
But so having that extra emotional support, knowing that what you say is not going to end up in another circle where it can hurt you or harm you. That's very important. And last but not least, trust and reliability. Like I said, I can call them anytime and know that they have my back. Now, when I went out of town for 10 days, they couldn't do it because it was spring break and they had a cruise that was planned for the same time. But that was the only time they ever told me no. And they had a very good reason. And I trusted their reason because I know what type of person they are. And so those are all factors that you can use to identify if you have a strong relationship or not, regardless of what type of relationship it is.
Right. So do you think that, because you said something very interesting as it relates to you have different friends for different things. You have a friend for this and a friend for this. One friend you can confide in, and another friend you can, as you mentioned, I can call them at a drop of a dime and they will be there to assist me. You have different friends. Even though you have these different friends for different things, the basic foundation is that mutual respect.
Yeah.
And because we have that mutual respect, I can have a friendship with you, right? So I don't think I have any friends throughout my life that we didn't have a mutual respect from one another. And that's what made us friends, right? Yeah. I mean, who wants to be friends with somebody that just dogs them out every chance they get? That's not a friend, bully. Right?
That's called bully.
I call that bully friend. Because you became friends with them, but they bully you, but they say I'm your friend.
Or they bully you in a joking way.
Yeah, they bully you in a joking way. And so, and the key word I used was strong friendships, because we have some friendships that are not necessarily strong. They're just like those what you're gonna call acquaintance friendships.
Yeah.
I don't really talk to you. I don't really see you. We don't have much in common, but we became friends along the way.
Yeah.
We were coworkers, and I talk to you, from time to time, and we consider ourselves a little friend, right? But I don't confide in you. You don't confide in me. We don't talk outside of that space. And so, I just think it's important that classification of that respect. How you said you're gonna respect me. If nothing else, you're gonna respect me.
Yeah.
And from what I noticed along the way, friendships are normally started and you talked about it on a show that we did before. Some friendships, strong friendships, are started based on an argument or a fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we found somewhere in there, we found some commonalities and became ultimate friends. So, all right. So let's dig a little deeper in that realm, from friendships into more personal relationships, if you will, right?
Mhm.
And what I mean by deepening, because you have friends you can have deep conversations with, right? But then sometimes you don't have those deep conversations with the one that is closest or supposed to be closest to you.
Mhm.
So I want 4 ways of how you can deepen your conversation in your relationship.
Yeah, that's the deep one right there.
Eat.
All right, so active listening is one of those things that you have to do.
Mm.
And so you're listening to understand and not listening to rebuttal. That is one of the biggest things about active listening that separates it from regular listening. Have you ever been, well, I don't mean you, but have you ever been in an argument where you're waiting for that person to breathe so you can respond because you got a one up on them?
Mm.
And so you're just waiting for them to shut up so you can just give this one liner, this zinger that's going to shut them down, that's going to is one of those drop the mic type situations.
Mm.
And in relationships, what you have to understand is this: anytime one person wins in a relationship,
Mhm.
ultimately the relationship loses. It should never be me against you. It should always be us against the issue. And so if I have to win, or if you have to win, that means someone has to lose. And someone losing means that there's going to be a dent in the armor.
Mhm.
So if you have to have the last say, every time you have the last say, you're putting a dent in the armor. If you have to let him have it, you're putting, or let her have it, you're putting a dent in the armor.
Mm.
And so active listening is about understanding the differences and seeing how you can reconcile those differences to move forward.
Mhm.
Vulnerability is another big thing. Can I open up to you without getting hurt? Can I show you my underbelly? You know,
Mm.
if you look at the crocodiles and alligators, they have a tough exterior, but their bellies are the softest, most susceptible part of their body. When dogs are sleeping at night, they curl up in the sea to protect their bodies. If a dog lays out and stretches when it's sleeping, it means it feels totally safe in that environment. And so, can I show you my underbelly and know that you're not going to hurt me emotionally in any shape, form, or fashion? That is how you can strengthen your conversations in a relationship. Open-ended questions. So instead of asking questions that end in a yes or no, you ask questions that end in sentence that will cause sentences from the other person. So how do you feel about XYZ? What is your understanding of ABC? That leads to thinking, that leads to understanding, that leads to proper communication versus do you like black? Yes. Do you want to go outside? Yes. Do you want more food? No. Now those questions are important, but if those are the only questions that you ask, it's not a conversation, right? Last but not least, empathy and validation. What that means is when that person is in pain, can you understand why?
Mm.
When that person doesn't understand what you're saying, do you are you sensitive with them? Are you calm with them? Do you treat that person like a king or a queen, or do you just let them have it, or do you just fuss them out because they don't understand, or do you try to understand where you can change and where you can make things better? Because at the end of the day, once you say what you said, you still got to get back to the relationship. And so that's the hard part, because relationships aren't always up. Sometimes you're down. Sometimes both y'all are down. Sometimes both y'all in a funk. And what that means is you may not be communicating properly. But do you have that commitment to fight through it and let it work, even though you may not be feeling really good at that point in time? And the conversations that you have might be a little hurtful, or it might be a little uncomfortable. But because of the commitment level, you're willing to put in that time and that energy, because you know there's something nice at the end of the road. So I hope I explained that properly, because a lot of people think that conversation always have to be happy and bubbly. But sometimes the conversations are difficult. Sometimes the conversations are, you know what, you need to do this, you need to do that, we need to change this, I don't like how this happened. And you sometimes you just got to man up or woman up and bite the bullet and change. It's not always going to be a nice conversation.
Right. Makes sense. No, it totally makes sense. And I like the fact you said that every conversation, even though it says deepen, every conversation is not profound. Like, ooh, that was deep.
Yeah.
The part about deepening the conversation is just actively having the conversation. Engaged, as you say. Sometimes people say, "Oh, you're not listening." I heard everything you said.
But hearing and understanding is two different things. Hearing and listening is two different things. Hearing means you just inputted some information using your ears. Listening means I'm actually hearing it, but I'm trying to also understand what you're saying and where you're coming from. Active listening means I'm literally trying to go to the next level. I'm digesting that information. I'm flipping it all around, trying to see all the different sides that information could be coming from, and how can I use that to better understand you and better communicate to you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, another thing I want to add real fast is this thing called love mapping. Love mapping is where you ask a series of questions to your spouse or to your partner to understand them on a deeper level. So, for example, you've been married for a while, and don't answer this question, but this is just something for you to think about. If you went to your wife and you said to her, "Hey, babe, what is something that scared you when you were younger that has had a lasting effect on you that still to this day scares you when you think about it, or when you are exposed to that particular situation that you think I may not know about?" Because all of us have some type of fear. All of us have some type of moment that changed some part of our lives. Whether it was a beat down, a beating, an embarrassment, something that happened to us that we really haven't told too many people.
Right.
So love mapping, being able to protect your partner, is knowing what that trigger is, knowing how you can best back them and help them and support them when they need it the most, because they might think they have it covered, but it may not be covered. And it might come out and show its underbelly at the wrong time, and you're not prepared for it.
Right.
Do you know your spouse's happiest moment growing up as a kid? Do you know your spouse's lowest moment as a kid, or scariest moment, or saddest moment as a kid? Do you know your spouse's fears, intimate fears? I'm not talking about spiders and snakes and stuff. I'm talking about deep down. I am scared of public speaking, or I am scared of someone doing X or saying Y to me. That's what love mapping is, knowing the deep down, dirty essentials of your partner so that you can properly back them. But that does not work if you don't show them or give them the ability to be vulnerable. They must trust you and know that when I tell you this particular thing, it's not going to come back in an argument to hurt me. And that's where a lot of people don't put in 100%. That's why some people say, you know what, I'm going to hold back. I'm not going to love you as much, or I'm not going to let you know everything about me, just in case I can't trust you. I can say, but at least I didn't give them everything.
Makes sense. Total sense. All right, so we're dealing with the strong friendships, the deepening the conversations in relationships. So we're going to continue that same vein in relationships. I told you this question was a little controversial,
Okay.
but I want to get your take on it and see what direction you pull us in.
Okay.
From as relates to these relationships, is trust really that important in a relationship? And why? Or why not?
There are two ways of thinking about this. There is a prominent author and presenter that I've listened to, and they said trust is not number one, or should not be number one on your list. A lot of people say, if I can't trust you, I can't move on.
Right.
There is a guy that I listened to called Brian Tracy. He is one of the fathers of life coaching and self-development and stuff. And he said in one of his presentations that he has a friend that is a thief, and they're very good friends. And he said a lot of people gave him flack for saying that. How can you hang around with a thief? And he says, I know he's a thief, and I know where the boundaries are, but he is a funny person and he's a good person. You just can't leave him alone with your thing. You know? And so at the end of the day, when I know your parameters, I can trust you accordingly. A lot of times people think that trust is such a big thing. But if I know you, then I know how to place you in my life.
Right.
You know, there's a guy that says, once you show me who you are, or once you show me your energy, I can determine what I want to do with it. People say a lot of things, but your energy will show you who you are eventually. Because who you are on the inside will always come out eventually. And so I'm more scared of people that I don't know much about them, but they masquerade as truthful people, as honest people. You know, than a person, you know, somebody's a thief, you know how to relate to them. You know what to do. You know how, you know, what you can trust them with. But a backbiter, you don't know till it's too late.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, so you know, but this particular author was saying trust is someone you need. Trust is something that you need from a bus driver, from a pilot, from stuff like that. Like we throw trust around, like we give a lot of people trust. Every time you get into an Uber, you're giving your life up to that person, because that person could just hit the accelerator and go at 90 into a brick wall. So we give trust away easily. So is trust one of those things that is going to be high up on the list?
Right.
Or do you want somebody who is willing to commit to you, willing to commit to your safety, willing to commit to communication, willing to commit to living a life with you, willing to commit to living to the end with you?
Mm.
Commitment to me trumps trust, because commitment will lead to trust. Communication will lead to trust. Active listening and talking will lead to trust. So to say that trust is the most important thing, I think choosing the right person is the most important thing. Because I don't want to trust somebody who's going to give me hell all day. I don't want to trust someone who isn't going to communicate with me. I don't want to trust someone who doesn't have my back. So there are a lot of other things that I would personally put ahead of trust, because when you have those things, trust comes automatically.
Right.
You know, have you ever seen those offers where you do the a la carte, but they say, but if you purchase this package, you get this plus this.
Right.
And it's actually more worthwhile, you know. And that to me is where trust is. If you want to pick your relationship things a la carte, you might end up not having something that's essential. But if you bundle that bad boy, you might get you get a lot more in there for you. You get more bang for your buck. You get trust included. You get reliability, values. You get a whole bunch of other stuff. To me, picking the right person because of the chemistry that you have. And I'm not just talking about the physical chemistry. I'm talking about emotional, intellectual. I'm talking about spiritual. I'm talking about financial. You go down the list, all forms of chemistry, because we have to mesh together in all aspects of our lives. So if you just think that physical chemistry is all you need, you're in for a rude awakening. Are we emotionally compatible? That is a biggie right there. A lot of people in prison, a lot of people in, underground, because they weren't emotionally compatible. So where's the trust?
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You know, emotions are fickle, and so you can't run a relationship with emotions. You got to run it on the commitment that you have to each other, but you don't want to commit to someone you can't vibe with intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, financially, so that they're bigger things, but people are quick to. Hollywood has told us that trust is a very important thing.
Right.
And it sounds good, but we give trust away every time. How many times have you put money in the bank and walk away, trusting that the money be there when you come back the following week?
Right. Yeah.
You put our money in the teller and it goes up in the air, and we expect to get a receipt. We trust like nothing.
Yeah.
So
that we do, and I always say that we put this trust in everybody, and it's crazy. So yeah, no, I get exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. So but trust does give you emotional safety, since you still answering the question. Trust will give you emotional safety. Trust will give you reliability and consistency. Trust will give you intimacy and closeness. Trust will give you conflict resolution. Trust will give you long-term commitment. But don't go into a relationship with trust being your first indicator as to whether or not you're going to commit to that person.
Right.
Chemistry in all forms, on all levels, comes first. Commitment, that person's ability to commit to the process.
Right. Yeah.
Commit to not dogging you when the relationship goes through its cycles. When it goes up, when it's up. I mean, when the relationship is good, everybody happy.
Oh yeah.
But when you
When
hit
it's
that
when it's
rough
good.
patch, is everybody jumping ship,
When
or
it,
we
when it,
gonna dig down deep and start pumping the water out pumping the water out the ship?
yeah. When it's good, it's good. Right. Ain't
Yeah,
that what they say?
yeah,
When it's good. Oh yeah. I can go with you because it's good today.
yeah, yeah.
But when it's bad, it can be bad.
But if you know the person you with is going to jump shit when things go bad, you can fight to keep that thing good. But if you think that person got your back, and then the first time you hit rock bottom, they jump it and they catch you off track, that's
Yeah,
when a lot of people get hurt.
that's true.
It's the stuff that sneak up on you that you're not ready for. But at least if I know somebody's using me, I know the boundaries and I know what to expect. So that goes
Yeah.
back to that whole trust issue. You know what I'm saying? When it's good, it's
Right.
good. When
Yeah.
it's bad,
It's
you
bad.
left me
Real
with someone
bad.
else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So listen, I got one more I want to throw at you. One more I
Uh-huh.
want to throw at you, and
I'm
this one
dodging.
we
You know
kind of
what?
bouncing around.
I'm
Huh?
dodging. I'm dodging the question.
You can't dodge this one because this one specific is gonna hit you right in your eye.
Oh wow.
There's this lot of talk about trust and relationships, a lot of talk about strong friendships, a lot of talk about deepening your conversations in your relationship, but there's not a lot of talk, and we talked about this on a couple episodes ago too. And because I really want us to really understand what this means, right?
Yeah.
What does self-care really mean? Some talk about, your hygiene and
Mm,
and making sure you smell okay and making
yeah.
sure that but self-care is a little deeper than that, right? It's a little deeper than what's on the outside and me smelling good.
Yeah.
Because I can smell all I want good on the outside, but if in the inside I'm hurting, I'm bitter, I'm angry, on the inside I'm holding things in. How important is self-care?
Self-care is very important because self-care relates to how much you love yourself. And here's what research has told us. If you don't love yourself, you can't love someone else in a healthy way. You can show indications of love, but it's not going to be long lasting. Have you seen those movies where people look like they like someone, as soon as that person does something, they go psycho on them?
Right, yeah.
There's a movie back in the day called Misery.
Mm.
Misery is a movie about a woman who became obsessed with a man, and she kidnapped that man, broke his legs, and stopped him from being able to get out the house. And she put that man in misery, but she looked normal at the beginning.
Right.
There's another movie called Fatal Attraction where everything was going good until he said he was going back to his wife, and she went ballistic, bananas, to the point that she cooked she cooked the dog or
The
something.
rabbit.
Yeah, cooked the rabbit. So there are a lot of situations, and so when now I don't want to mix up mental issues with relationship issues, but there are situations where people can take a emotional situation and turn it into a mental situation by not
Mm.
getting it treated, not getting it resolved. So, for example, you
Right.
know what you focus on. You attract what you focus on. If you focus on positive stuff, you attract positive stuff. If you focus
Hmm.
on negative stuff, you attract negative stuff. And so, a lot of us get negative things attracted to us because we are focusing on the wrong things. What I'm saying is, if you're focusing on a healthy relationship, you're not looking for the imperfections of your partner. If
Mm.
you focus on, I think this person is up to no good, then you
Right.
look at everything they do wrong and you focus on the bad things. Now, research has also told us that you would only love 70% or you would only appreciate 70% of any person that you're around for a constant amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
That means there's 30% that's going to drive you crazy. That's why commitment in a relationship is so important, because that 30%, if you focus on it, is going to feel like 70%.
Right.
And so if I'm focusing on that negative stuff, what happens is that I become obsessed with it and it drives me crazy. So you ask me, how important is self-care? The mental aspect to me is very important, because if I don't take care of my thoughts, I can become emotionally erratic. I can become emotionally sensitive, and that can manifest itself and be triggered into a lot of negative activities that can have you imprisoned or institutionalized. So the mental aspect is important. Now, let me digress a little. Think about this. We get up every morning, put on our best, smell our best, go to work, and then we come home and we give our partners what's left.
Mm.
Self-care to me is not just about the mental, it's about how I show up in my relationship.
Right.
Is every time my partner see me, am I at my worst?
Mm.
Why is it the world gets the best stuff and then the partner gets the bad stuff?
Right.
And so self-care means showing up in a positive light for my partner.
Mm.
So that's something else to look at. And then, you know about the exercise and eating and all that's the spiritual aspect and all that stuff. But those are two parts that I wanted to talk about, because those are the parts that commonly get left behind.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
We've seen a lot of comedy shows about the women dressing up and going to work with the best clothes on, and then they come home and the husband wants a little quality time, and she has on curlers and she has on an old looking top, and it's every single last night.
Right. Yeah.
Or it's about the man that comes home and drinks and has the attitude all the time and doesn't want to spend time with the wife. All that stuff shows up as lack of self-care.
Right.
And self-care also means relationship care, because if you're taking care of yourself, you're going to love yourself. You love yourself, you're going to love what you have. You love what you have, you're going to put time and energy and value into it. And so you show up in a more positive light. And that is also prefaced by the part that where I say you've chosen the right person and you've committed to that person. So I'm not talking about abusive relationships. I'm not talking about toxic relationships. I'm talking about normal relationships where you love that person loves you also. And we're trying to talk about what can I do to make things better in that relationship.
Right. Man, listen, you've unpacked us a whole lot. I mean, we it's like we were under the Christmas tree trying to pick and choose what gift to open up with the greatest impact. And I think we did that on this episode tonight. We dealt with a lot of stuff that that impacts your emotional, your physical, even your spiritual in some aspects, as we talked about being good humans. And that self-care, I think, is one of the most important pieces to this puzzle, because if you don't have self-care, you can't have any of these other things. You ain't got to worry about trust. You ain't got to worry about strong friendships. You ain't got to worry about deepening your conversation with those who are closest to you. If you don't have that self-care, you're really sitting out there, and you're going to be a burden to everybody you come in contact with. No one is going to be happy if you can't take care of yourself. And so, as we close out tonight, as we accustomed to saying, or I'm accustomed to saying every night, hey, listen, these questions were impactful even to me, even to Dr. Howell tonight. But my main question to my listeners and my viewers are, can you relate to this?
Yeah.
Listen, we're looking forward to seeing you on another episode. Share it. If this has been good to you, put something in the chat. If you want to hear something that we haven't given you, please let us know. We want to be impactful to everyone that we come in contact with. Listen, we'll see you next time on another episode of Relate to This.
Relate to this. With Jay Charles and Dr. Hal.